Hello, and welcome back to our Dragon Age Inquisition No Death Ruleset playthrough. Brought to you by William Ellison, Master Lusarius, GameAnyone.com. Today we shall start with loads of reading, as I always do. I do mean loads. I have at least here 15 codexes I wrote down myself on a pad. Plus all the others that automatically unlocked. Should be fun. And then it's learning a barrack, which is always a mess. I've never been very good at managing rogues. I'm actually contemplating having a party with 1 warrior and 3 mages. The problem with that is in every dungeon I won't be able to pick locks. That's usually when you keep it balanced. In Dragon Age 2 my party was 1 warrior, 2 mages and 1 rogue. Dragon Age 1 it was... what was it? It was me, I was a mage, it was... Alistair, I think. And... yeah, it was a similar setup. For the meantime, that's the plan, but if I ever get too close to dying, I might have to switch to something else. I know this game is melee heavy. Alright. Codex time. Let me start here with in order. I have the fade, that should be in locations, one would think. The fade, alright, there we go. The study of the fade is as old as humankind. For so long as men have dreamed, we have walked its twisting paths, sometimes catching a glimpse of the city at its heart, always as close as our own thoughts, but impossibly separated from our world. The Templars Imperium once spent vast fortunes of gold, lyrium, and human slaves in an effort to map the terrain of the Fade, an ultimately futile endeavor. Although portions of it belong to powerful spirits, all the Fade is in constant flux. The Imperium succeeded in finding the disparate and ever-shifting realms of a dozen demon lords, as well as cataloging a few hundred types of spirits before they were forced to abandon the project. The relationship of the Dreamers to the Fade is complex. Even when entering the Fade through the use of lyrium, mortals are not able to control or affect it. The spirits who dwell there, however, can, and as the chantry teaches us, the great flaw of the spirits is that they have neither imagination nor ambition. They create what they see through their sleeping visitors, building an elaborate copy of our cities, people, and events, which, like the reflections in a mirror, ultimately lack context or life of their own. Even the most powerful demons merely plagiarize the worst thoughts and fears of mortals, and build their realms with no other ambition than to taste life. Alright. A chant for the departed. Where could that possibly be? Tales, maybe. This one not, this one not. Trust is my Barry. How to act Ferelden. This one actually is here. Was the last one when I was talking to Colin. Okay, let's do. My esteemed Lady Sidonia, I would like to make to take full responsibility for Lady Marchelette's odd behavior of late. You see, we recently began to study of history. I thought that it would do the young mistress some good to be exposed to all the ocean cultures and not just Orlais. It was a foolish thought. Relatively, your daughter has taken a particular interest in Fereldan folklore. She first developed an affinity for King Caelenhead, which seems to have devolved into borderline infatuation. She stared at me, eyes wide, when I told her how he unified the barbarians with his allegedly incomparable might and charisma. Even every time I tried to move the lesson onto something more important, she insisted I tell her again about Caelenhead, how the Fereldans say his hair was twice as yellow as the sun and his chin more chiseled than the tallest peak in the frost packs. Twice now I've had to tear down drawings she tacked up in her bedroom of the man shirtless. So he's Justin Bieber. Then we moved on to the werewolves, which was even worse. As you may already know, the Fereldans venerate the folk heroes Dane and Hafter. Dane was said to have been a werewolf, and Hafter to have descended from one. No enlightened man or woman could ever view such beast people with anything but revulsion. But you know Fereldas and their love for wildlife. Unfortunately, these tales of the wolfmen set the little mistress' imaginations afire. When she suggested we put on a play for you and her lord father, I could not say no. I'm afraid that's why Marchelet was running through the mansion wearing furs and frightening the chambermaids. She was rehearsing a scene in which Hafter drives back the Darkspawn. I've been informed that some of the princess's family heirlooms were destroyed amidst all the confusion. I cannot fully express my dismay. I understand if my abject failure as a tutor results in my immediate dismissal. Brother Bernard to his employer. The Children of Andraste. I think there it is. The Children of Andraste. Gillivan to provide him heirs, which she did. After her death, the sons were raised as Andraste's own. What? I started in the middle of this tale. Okay. There are many misconceptions regarding Andraste's bloodline, monsieur. This is due, I should think, to a general lack of knowledge regarding Andraste's mortal life. Understandable, considering that many cults that arose following her death. Everyone sought to claim Our Lady for their own culture or claimed some aspect of her existence was a lie. All of them complete fabrications. My order was done considerable research to ascertain the truth. We all know Andraste and the betrayer raised 5 children. The eldest 3 were sons, Isorath, Evrion, and Berald. The rule of what was once southern Tevinter was split among them. Isorath was given the west, what today is Orlais. Everion was given the east, what today is the Free Marshes. Berald was given the central Planacine, which what today is Nevarra. What became of these men and their legacies is the stuff of legend, and the majority of the claimants to Andraste's bloodline link back to one of them. None of the 3 sons, however, were born of Andraste. They were born of the betrayer's concubine, Gillivan. Okay. People chose to overlook the fact that Andraste came from the Alamari tribesmen and that they were barbarians, not the Fereldans we know today. They were such warriors who took concubines in addition to their wives, and because Andraste was thought to be too weak to bear children, the betrayer took Gillivan to provide him heirs, which she did after her death. The sons were raised as Andraste's own. Later in life, Andraste proved uh, what? Andraste proved predictions wrong and had 2 daughters by the betrayer, Evris and Vivial. They were kept out of the public eye and not permitted to marry. Although both had consorts, Eris had but one child, Ali Bemar, who perished on a voyage to Denerim less than a month after her mother fell to the plague, and without children of her own. The younger daughter, Belial, was more controversial, a strong-willed woman who defied her family in falling in love with a mage of the winter. No wonder she was controversial. Regulan. Vivial and Regulan went into self-imposed exile as the Exalted March began, and into hiding following Andraste's betrayal and murder. What became of Vivial and her descendants is largely unknown for one primary reason: she only had daughters. Each of those daughters only had daughters. They married into other families and took other names. And in the chaos of the second Blight, all traces of survivors were lost. Andraste's true bloodline, if it exists, lies solely in the descendants of Vivial, and the suspicion of my order is that it produces only daughters. Thus, the claim of our young man, Monsignors, are highly suspect. From a letter by Sister Galena of the Augustan order. Huh? I wonder if Flemed is a descendant of Andraste. That could work. The Randy Tower, yeah. This piece of shit stopped working. This. A well-worn quarterly missive of suspect virtue. The Randy Dowerer welcomes the cool of autumn with the fall of another, the collected dreams of desire, being the confessions of an apprentice and training more furrowing than harrowing. The forbidden dalliances at their most spirited. Yeah, this is what Lost likes out the Circle Tower. Libertine. He doesn't like libertarian mages, but he loves libertine mages. The Randy Dower exhibitions for the noble of thought, but the spry of step. The lady herself says, enchanting once about the circles, if only because closed doors suffer the imagination more. 3 scarves, fluttering sugar of 5. Okay, that was a strange codex. The Singing Maiden. I think yeah, I already read this. Okay, what's next? A chant for the departed. Maybe history would make sense. There you go. A chant for the departed. The light shall lead her safely through the paths of this world and into the next. For she who trusts in the Maker, fire is her water. As the moth sees light and goes towards flame, she would see fire and go towards light. The veil holds no uncertainty for her, and she will know no fear of death, for the Maker shall be her beacon and shield, her foundation and her sword. Okay, often sung by mourners as they light candles. Alright, the Maker. Would it be here? Siege equipment in Theidas, I'm sure it's there. Siege weaponry has been used in Theidas for centuries, with primitive equipment used as far back as the Third Blight. Nevertheless, it occupies a peculiar niche in the tools of warfare due to its requirements. Any army wishing to produce trebuchets or catapults must be funded and organized well enough to procure both the necessary materials and the military experts to construct them. Throughout history, most armies who fulfilled such requirements did not take advantage of the situation. During the Third Blight, for example, Arlesens and Montsimar constructed catapults to fling flaming debris at the Darkspawn, but the expense of the weapon did not justify the limited damage they caused, and the Darkspawn were ultimately driven back by Grey Wardens, not siege weaponry. The Interforcers similarly had the resources to construct siege weapons when attacking the Free Marchers or defending themselves against the exalted marches of the Black Age. Instead, the Imperium focused primarily upon the power of its magisters. It makes sense. Mages make for far more powerful weapons who were less powerful but more flexible than siege equipment and more plentiful, I should say. And who could more easily fall back when the tide of battle turned. As a result, the battles against the Cunari in the Steel Age, generals found to their chagrin that the great Oxmen had left them behind. Cunari black powder is, most military experts agree, not magic. It is merely an advanced alchemy that makes their cannons more effective than any trebuchet could ever be. Nevertheless, there remains hope. As centuries have passed since the last Blight, and mages are now safely held in the circles where they harm none, the experts of Ferelden and Orlais may once again turn their great minds to learning. We need no magic, not where the minds of men survive unfettered. With our resources and our commitment to knowledge, we can easily surpass the brutal Kunari on the field of battle. From Kyun, guns and steel, military conflict in a post-Blight Thedas. Shortly before the start of the third Blight. Fifth Blight, actually. Okay, what's this? The Conclave. I think I read that yesterday. This one, no. The Maker, there you have it. The Maker? Why is it in history? It's misplaced. This should be in Tales. Okay. Let's start. It's a canticle. There was no word for heaven or for earth, for sea or sky. All that existed was silence. Then the voice of the Maker rang out, the first word, and his word became all that might be. Dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities, and from it made his firstborn, and he said to them, in my image I forge you, to you I give dominion over all that exists. By your will may all things be done. Then, in the center of heaven, he called forth a city with towers of gold, streets with music for cobblestones, and banners which flew without wind. There he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. The children of the Maker gathered before his golden throne and sang him hymns and praise unending, for their songs were the songs of the cobblestones. Okay. They shone with the golden light reflected from the Maker's throne. They held forth the banners that flew on their own. And the voice of the Maker shook the fates, saying, in my image I have wrought my firstborn. You have been given dominion over all that exists by your... Okay, I'm not going to... no, yeah. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever changing. And he knew that he had wrought amiss. So the Maker turned from his firstborn and took from the Fade a measure of his living flesh, and placed it apart from his spirits, and spoke to it, saying, here I decree opposition in all things, for earth, sky, for wind and summer, for darkness, light. By my will alone is balance sundered, and the world given new life. And no longer was it formless, ever changing, but held fast, immutable, with words for heaven and for earth, sea and sky. And the last did the Maker from the living world make men, immutable as the substance of the earth, with souls made of dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. Then the Maker said, to you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. From the Fade I've crafted you, and to the Fade you shall return, each night in dreams, that you may always remember me. And then the Maker sealed the gates of the Golden City, and there he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. Yes, waiting for to get invaded by the magisters. All right. Founding of the chantry. How is that not in maybe in groups? I would bet that was chantry hierarchy. Here it is. In history, it makes sense. The Divine is the titular head of the Chantry, although since the schism split the Imperial Chantry into its own faction, there are now in fact two Divines at any one time. One Divine, informally called the White Divine, is a woman housed in the Grand Cathedral in Val Royeaux. The other, known as the Black Divine, is a man housed in the Argent Spire in Minrathous. Neither divine recognizes the existence of the other, and the informal names are considered sacrilegious. No matter the gender, a divine is addressed as most holy or your perfection. I prefer your perfection. Whatever. Beneath the rank of the divine is the Grand Cleric. Each Grand Cleric presides over numerous chantries and represents the highest religious authority for the region. So they are basically like cardinals. They travel to Arroyo when the College of Clerics convenes, but otherwise remain where they are assigned. All Grand Clerics are addressed as Your Grace. Beneath the Grand Cleric is the Mother, or in the Imperial Chantry, the Father. If a mother is in charge of a particular chantry, revered is appended to her title. These are priests responsible for administering the spiritual well-being of their flock. A mother or revered mother is addressed as your reverence. Now, it seems the grand clerics are a mixture between bishops and cardinals. And in fact, all cardinals are bishops. What makes a cardinal is that it can go to a college of cardinals. So apparently, the church here is not big enough to have that distinction. Brothers and sisters from the rank and file of the chantry consist of three main groups: affirmed, initiates, and clerics. Affirmed are the low brethren of the chantry, those regular folk who have turned to the chantry for succor. Often they are people who have led a difficult and irreligious life and have chosen to go into seclusion, or even orphans and similar unfortunates who were raised into the chantry life. The affirmed take care of the chantry and are in turn afforded a life of quiet contemplation, no questions asked. Only those folk who take vows become initiates. These are men and women in training, whether in academic knowledge or the martial skills of a warrior. All initiates receive an academic education, although only those who seek to become Templars learn how to fight. In addition, clerics are the true academics of the chantry, those men and women who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge. There are often found in chantry archives sages presiding over libraries of books and arcane knowledge. The most senior of these clerics placed in charge of such archives are given the title Elder, although such a rank is still beneath that of Mother. All other brothers and sisters are addressed simply by noting their title before their name, such as Brother Gingivitis, from a guide for ambassadors from Remain. It's true in Remain, is it in Remain? No, it's in Navarra, the chant. No, in Remain, there are a lot of converts to the Kyun. That's what happened in Remain. I think that's the place. Okay, the founding of the chantry. Andrastian belief. This is the end. Cordelius Dracon, king of the city-state of Orlais, was a man of uncommon ambition. In the year 15 ancient, the young king began construction of a great temple dedicated to the Maker, and declared that by its completion he would not only have united the warring city-states of the south, he would have brought Andrastian belief into the world. In 3 ancient, the temple was completed. There, in its heart, Dracon knelt before the eternal flame of Andraste and was crowned ruler of the Empire of Orlais. His first act as emperor to declare the chantry as the established Andrastian religion of the empire. It took 3 years and several hundred votes before Olesa of Montsimard was elected to lead the new chantry. Upon her coronation as divine, she took the name Justinia in honor of the disciple who recorded Andraste's songs. At the moment, the ancient era ended and the divine age began. Hello, O'Neill. I need to know my enemies, so I have to understand the chantry in its entirety. For example, I need to make sure this conclave, the current conclave, lasts as long as possible. The more the chantry takes to elect a new divine, the more it will splinter. So that's one of our priorities. Patient observation. It seems unlikely that's here. The Danish elves are already. Okay, all this is. Patient observations. Where could that be? Uh, Characters, maybe? Shit. No. Letters and notes. That should be. Construction orders I hide here. As you know from the terrible actions of last week, many passages through the mountains are unstable and liable to collapse at any moment. I do not wish us to lose more brothers and sisters in the search for the lost cultist's treasure. We must seal all the entrances to the mountains. The Templars have done a careful sweep of the caves. Everything of worth was collected. What remains of the disciples of Andraste will be forgotten, buried in the earth. Once it is done, let us have no more talk of them. This is a new haven, restored to life by the true chantry and most holy Justinian V. Hmm, I actually need to find that treasure. Where is this? Patient observations day 2 and day 3. This is about me. Ah, I'm only missing one codex I wrote here. Tale of the Frostbacks. Okay. Day 2. Pulse normal, breathing normal, still unresponsive. Careful drop feed of prep, elf fruit extract to hasten her recovery. A lot of thrashing. Mutters out too many eyes. Something out the grey. Encouraging? Day 3. Less thrashing. Some response to stimulus. Vitals seem solid. 2 attempts so far by locals to break into the chantry to kill my patient. On this work to save her life. Will they just execute her? Will inform Lady Cassandra. I expect her to wake before the morn. That's awesome. Okay, how did I miss a tale from the Frostbanks? Maybe it's... Let's start reading the ones with these stars. I am the one. I feel sun through the ashes in the sky. Where's the one who will guide in tonight? What's begun is the war that will force this divide. What's to come is fire and the end of time. I am the one who can recount what has been lost. I am the one who will live on. I have run through the fields of pain and sights. I fought to see the other side. I am the one who can recount what we have lost. I am the one who will live on. Okay. You are the one that makes no sense and doesn't know how to make anything rhyme. Once we were in our peace with our lives assured, once we were not afraid of the dark, once we sat in our kingdom with hope and pride, once we ran through fields with great strides, we held the faith and the demon's flight, so far from our children and from our lives. We held together the frail sky to keep our way of life. Once we raised a poor chalice in victory, once we sat in the light of our dreams, once we were in our homeland with strength and mind, once we were not afraid of the night and drank wine into the death of all of us. He's Neo, yeah, he's the one, the one that got away from the mental institution. Okay, let's read this one. The perils of our life. To such a little, to such a tight. Why does it start in the end? As a bard, you are welcome anywhere in Orlais. Doors are open to you with generous smiles. There was confident that no one would falsely pretend to such a title for fear of retribution. Your slightest request is immediately seen. Your services are expensive and yet actively sought, and those who cannot afford them beg only not to have your displeasure turned their way. One day, however, you will awaken. You will realize the smiles are false, and behind there lies revenge. At the first moment of weakness, your brother and sister Barts. I forgot to turn this on. And sister Barts will be unleashed upon you like a pack of hounds, and you will realize that they are not your brothers and sisters at all. For all your fancy intrigue, you have spent your life creating nothing of worth. You have been swallowed by the web of your own deceits and the game of which you believed yourself master. It moves on without you, uncaring. Ha! From a letter signed Sister Nightingale. What do you know? Liliana has turned very sullen recently. Okay, I don't know where this Tale of the Frostbacks is. It should be around here. Let me make sure. Did not skip it. Where the hell could that be? Okay, places. Ah, there it is. A Tale of the Frostbacks. Even mountains had a heart once. When the world was young, Korth, the Mountain Father, kept his throne at the peak of Belenus, the mountain at the center of the world, from which he could see all the corners of earth and sky. And he saw strong men become weak, brave men grow cowardly, and wise men turn foolish for love. Korth devised a plan that he might never be betrayed by his own heart. By taking it out and hiding it where no soul would ever dare to search for it, he sealed it inside a golden casket buried in the earth, and raised around the fiercest mountains the world had ever seen, the Frostbacks, to guard it. I already read this in Dragon Age 1, I'm sure. But without his heart and the mountain fire grew cruel, the chest was filled with bitter mountain winds that shrieked and howled like lost souls. Food lost its flavor, music had no sweetness, and he lost all joy in deeds of valor. He sent avalanches and earthquakes to torment the tribes of men. Gods and men rose against him, calling him a tyrant. But with no fear, Korth could not be slain. Soon there were no heroes left, either among men or gods who would dare challenge him. The Lady of the Sky sent the best of her children, the swiftest, the cleverest, and the strongest flyers, to scour the mountains for the missing heart. And for a year and a day they searched, but sparrows and ravens, vulture and eagle, swift and albatross returned to her with nothing. Then the Perthmigan spoke up and offered to find the god chief's heart. The other birds laughed, for the ptarmigan was a tiny bird, too humble to soar, which spends half its time hopping along the ground. The lady would not give the little creature her blessing, for the mountains were too fierce, even for eagles, but the ptarmigan set out anyway. The little bird traveled deep into the frostbacks. When she could not fly, she crawled. She hugged the ground and weathered the worst mountain's wind. And so she made her lonely way to the valley where the heart beat. With all the god's terrible deeds, the heart was far too heavy for the tiny earth to carry. So she rolled it, little by little, out of the valley and down a cliff. When the golden cask struck the earth, it shattered. The heart was filled almost to bursting, and the pain of it roused the mountain god to see what had happened. When Korth neared his heart, it leapt back into his chest, and he was whole again. Then Hakon, Winter's Breath, bound Korth's chest with 3 bands of iron and 3 bands of ice, so it could never again escape. All of the remaining gods named the Pertmigan honored above all the loveliest eagles. A neighbor tale. Hey O'Neill, was the stuttering fixed? The hinterlands. I suppose you are stretched thin, but anything you can do to lessen the burden of these poor folk would be much appreciated. I'll do as I can, and if your men need better mounts, say the word. Best of luck to you, my lord. Remember not to let the Duchess puff off her gut when you saddle her. What? A letter from Redcliffe's former horse master to Earl Tegan. So Emon is dead. Interesting. Resources. Why is it? Nevarra. The fourth time I attempted to cross the border into Nevarra from Orlea, I was turned back by Chevalier. This is Genitivi's tale, I can tell already. I decided to take the more run-out route, a ship back to Ferelden and then another to Nevarra. The outcome was more than worth the travel. The whole city is filled with artistry, countrymen, from the statues of heroes that litter the streets in even the meanest villages, and to the glittering golden college of Maije in Cumberland. Perhaps nowhere is more astonishing than the vast necropolis outside Nevarra city. Unlike most followers of Andraste, the Nevarrans do not burn their dead. Instead, they carefully preserve their bodies and seal them in elaborate tombs. Some of the wealthiest Nevarrans begin construction of their own tombs while quite young, and these become incredible palaces complete with gardens, bathhouses, and ballrooms, utterly silent, kept only for the dead. Yeah, I remember that codex as well. Well, we are moving fast now. A study of the Fifth Blight, Volume 1. While some of my contemporaries dispute whether the Fifth Blight was truly a blight or merely a large darkspawn resurgence, the historians agree that it began in the swamps of the Kokari Wilds on the southeastern border of Ferelden in the year 930 Dragon. King Kaelan Teirin was swift in responding to the threat, gathering a royal army, every Grey Warden in his country, and sending a call for aid to the Ferelden nobility. The assembled armies led a trap in the ruins of Ostagar, hoping to crush the force before it reached civilization, but they failed. Darkspawn overran the defenders of Ostagar and decimated the king and his army. They continued their advance into Ferelden unopposed. Only two Grey Wardens managed to escape the slaughter, and somehow they came into possession of ancient treaties, which compelled the races of men and elves and dwarves to join their arms against the massing horde. Surviving wardens made their way to King Lockhold, home of the Ferelden Circle, and conscripted the mages. In desperation to find more allies, the wardens journeyed into the Brazilian forest, seeking the Dalish. The elves failed to uphold their treaty, but another answered in their place. Werewolves, straight out of the Ferelden folk tales, joined the growing army. Into the deep roads the surviving wardens went, searching for Paragon Branca in hopes she could settle the unrest in Orzammar and unite the dwarves in the battle against the archdemon. Not only did the Paragon settle the matter of royal succession, but she also reclaimed the lost secrets of golem manufacture. An army of stone and steel joined the war effort. Balin Aiduken was crowned king of Orzammar, and the Dwarven armies marched for the surface. Despite their successes, though, greater challenges were yet to come. Sister Petrine, yeah, this is Johnny T's sole competition, and I guess she's now the only one alive. Volume 2. The Warden sought Arl Eamon, uncle of the late King Kaelan, in the hopes of mustering troops from the Ferelden nobility. Upon arriving in Redcliffe, they learned that the Jarl had fallen ill and was near death. His knights had gone in pursuit of the fabled ashes of Andraste, Eamon's only hope for a cure, and the village surrounding the keep was beset by a host of animated corpses. The wardens found and stopped the demon behind the undead before joining the search for the cure. No one is certain if the wardens actually located the final resting place of Our Lady Andraste, but whatever they found saved the Earl of Redcliffe. Upon his recovery, Evungering called for a landsmith, and he and the wardens traveled to Denerim. They gathered lords and ladies of Ferelden found The gathered lords of and ladies of Ferelden found Terlogen guilty of a number of crimes. He was sentenced to join the Grey Wardens to atone for his deeds. Furthermore, the landsmith granted the vacant throne to Anora, widow of King Kaelan. The nobility then pledged their own armies into the battle against the Blight. The archdemon clashed with the allied forces at the city of Denerim and was eventually slain, but at terrible cost. Much of the city lay in ruin, but the warden who rallied the armies was named Hero of Ferelden and accorded the highest honor. The fifth blight ended before most of Thedas knew it had begun, but it left a terrible wound on Ferelden. The losses suffered at Ostagar and Denerim greatly compromised the security of the kingdom. Southern Ferelden, from the Kokari Wilds to the edge of the Banord, are to this day a wasteland. It is uncertain how far the ripples from this event shall travel, or what waves it has already stirred. Nice. The First Inquisition. The birth of the chantry took place more than 9 ages ago. The mist of time has obscured once well-known facts. It is common belief that the chantry alone created the Templars and the Circle of Magi. Few recall there was an Inquisition. Those who do believe it predated the chantry, hunting cultists and mages in a reign of terror ending only upon its transformation into the Templar Order. This is not quite the truth. This actually sounds very much like the Book of Judges of the Bible. The Inquisition was like the judges before the priests took over in Israel, Judea, yeah, whatever. One must keep in mind the state of Thales prior to the Chantry's creation, a world where the only source of order, the Winter Imperium, had fallen apart. People blamed magic for the death of Andraste, the Blight, the terror they saw every day, and not without reason. Abominations and demons rampaged the countryside. No one was safe. Disparate groups of men and women initially formed the Seekers of Truth, determined to reestablish order because no one else would do what was necessary. The truth they sought, the question they tried to answer was how to restore sanity in a world gone mad. Was theirs a reign of terror? Perhaps. Evidence suggests that they were as vigilant as their protection of mages in their protection of mages as they were of regular people. When they intervened, they convened an ad hoc trial to determine the guilty party. This application of justice led to their poor reputation. The Seekers came down against every group at one time or another, their Inquisition gaining notoriety for being on no one's side but their own. They considered themselves good people, however, followers of the Maker's true commandments. This was never more evident than when they laid down their banner in support of the fledgling chantry. They believed with all their heart, that the Templar Order was the answer to a desperate Thaddeus needed in a terrible time. Ultimately, the Inquisition was composed of independent idealists, not chantry zealots. That is the truth. By Brother Gingivitis. Okay, let's continue. Rebel mages. Whereas the Circle was established not merely to protect the world from mages, but also to allow mages to practice their art safely and without fear. And whereas under Lord Seeker Lambert's command, the Templars sworn to protect all people, including mages, from the harmful effects of magic, have instead persecuted mages with such biased judgment as to worsen the problems they were meant to mitigate. And this is what? How is it called in English? Uh, a grievance letter. Whereas the right of tranquility, intended as a tool of last resort to stop uncontrolled mages from hurling themselves or others, has instead been used hurting for punitive and political purposes to silence dissent and inhibit civilized discourse, and whereas Andraste herself intended the relationship between mage and Templar to be one of practitioner and protector, not prisoner and jailer, and this contract has been broken, leaving mages in fear for their lives from those sworn to protect them. Now, therefore, the Circle of Mages declares the following: We, the mages of Ferelden and Orlais, do hereby dissolve the circles and renounce our sworn submission to the Order of Templars, effective immediately. We reiterate Andrastus' assertion that magic was made to serve man, not rule over him, and state unequivocally that we will use our abilities not only to defend ourselves from those who would see us relinquish our lives and freedoms under the presumption of guilt for crimes we have not committed. We condemn those practitioners of magic who, through illness of mind or understandable but misguided anger at those who oppress them, would use their maker-given powers to threaten innocent lives, and we pledge to aid any legitimate and impartial government bringing these lawless apostates to justice. We look earnestly to a future of cooperation between all peoples of Thedas, free from persecution and prejudice, and hope to build a better world alongside all who approach with friendship instead of fear. With yours in service to Andrastian the Maker, the Free Mages of Thedas. Brother, yeah, brother Gingivitis, didn't you know? uh, okay. You see, for some reason, the mages seem more reasonable than the Templars. What they're saying here is not crazy at all. That means I will need to work that much harder to radicalize the mages than the Templars. Well, something to keep in mind. It's good I'm a mage. Maybe that will help. The Pentergasts, or Pentagasts, whatever. I prefer Pentergasts. Allow me to correct you on one important point, my friend. The Pentergasts are Nevarra. Without us, this nation would either still be one of the motley city-states that comprise the Fair Marshes, or under Orlesian control. More likely the latter, as only Nevarra's strength holds back the empire expansion, and by that I refer to the brilliance of the Pentergast generals and the influence of the Pentergast coin. I find it interesting that only you mention dragon hunting as our only significant trait. You do understand, I hope, that dragons disappeared centuries ago, only recently returning at the beginning of this age. Some of our clan have taken up the old trade out of nostalgia, my cousin Ferdinand the most prominent among them. But those days are largely done. Today there are 14 branches of the family, 18 if one counts our relations among the Van Markhams, each consisting of multiple families and twisting bloodlines connecting us to almost every major house across Thedas. I am fully aware that King Marcus wanes in health, and neither he nor Ferdinand have children, but make no mistake, there will be another Pentagast sitting on the Nevarran throne, and that man or woman will lead us into a prosperous future. There will be no civil war. Okay. If only that were not true. Orlais is in civil war, and we shall take advantage of that. The Seekers of Truth aren't Templars, not precisely. Once they were called the Inquisition, but upon the signing of the Nevarran Accord, they gave up that name and became the order they are now, standing over us Templars as watchers and enforcers. I honestly cannot claim to know more than that. I don't know how many Seeklers there are, a few dozen. If they have a base of operation, I don't know where it is. Certainly not with us. The only time we'll see one is when a Seeker is summoned, and perhaps in response to a complaint by one of the first enchanters. They will investigate the problem, and if it turns out the Templar did something they don't like, he's disciplined severely, without question. Even the Knight Commander bows to their will. If a Seeker of Truth shows up, you know every last Templar is sweating, hoping their gaze doesn't fall on him. Of course, that changed when the Naran Accord was broken. I'm told the Chantry broke it, but it was Lord Seeker Lambert who made the announcement. He said the Seekers of the Truth and the Templar Order were going to hunt rebel mages, no matter what the Divine commanded. I didn't know he had that authority, that he could just say we would do this and everyone would follow, but we did. I never thought of it that way, but Seekers have always been our guides. Now they lead us into war. Okay. So maybe the Seekers are more extreme in their belief that mages need to be eradicated than the regular Templars, as evidenced by that woman that's in the camp. The Templar Order, end of an accord. Most holy, the Seekers are well aware of the part you play in the rebellion. This is actually one of the last things that is written in the Asunder book. You call me to the Grand Cathedral in the middle of the night on urgent business only to speak of trivial matters. This is Lambert speaking. And then when I return to the White Spire, I discover chaos and one of your agents in the midst of the apostates. That is... I don't remember if it was Leliana or Queen. Maybe it was one of them. It must have been Leliana. And the White Spire is in Orlais. Did you think I would not notice? Did you leave yourself above repercussions for such acts? It was a dark day when the Chantry placed such an incapable woman on the Sunburst throne. I will not stand idle and watch you destroy what ages of tradition and righteousness have built. In the 20th year of the Divine Age, the Nevarran Accord was signed. The Seekers of Truth lowered our banner and agreed to serve as the Chantry's right hand. And together we created the Circle of Magi. With the Circle no more, I hereby declare the Accord null and void. Neither Seekers of Truth nor the Templar Order recognize the Chantry's authority, and instead will perform the Maker's work as it was meant to be done, as we see fit. Signed on this day, and 40th year of the Dragon Age, Lord Seeker Lambert Van Reeves. Yes. The Templar Order, traditional role. Often portrayed as stoic and grim, the Order of Templars was created as the martial arm of the Chantry, armed with the ability to dispel and resist magic in addition to their formidable combat talents. The Templars are uniquely qualified to act as both a foil for apostates, mages who refuse to submit to the authority of the Circle, and as a first line of defense against the dark powers of blood mages and abominations. While the mages often resent the Templars as symbols of Chantry control over magic, the people of Theta see them as saviors and holy warriors, champions of all that is good, armed with piety enough to protect the world from the rages of foul magic. In reality, the Chantry's militant arm looks first for skilled warriors with unshakable faith in the Maker, with a flawless moral center as a secondary concern. Templars must carry out their duty with an emotional distance, and the Templar or Order preferred soldiers with religious fervor and absolute loyalty over paragons of virtue, who might question orders when it comes time to make difficult choices. So they like neutral, no, lawful neutral or even lawful evil people more than lawful good. The Templar's power derives from the substance lyrium, a mineral believed to be the raw element of creation. While mages use lyrium in their arcane spells and rituals, Templars ingest the primordial mineral to enhance their abilities to resist and dispel magic. Lyrium use is regulated by the Chantry, but some Templars suffer from lyrium addiction, and the effects of which include paranoia, obsession, and dementia. Templars knowingly submit themselves to this treatment in service of the Order and the Maker. It is it is this sense of ruthless piety that most frightens mages when they draw the Templars' attention. When the Templars are sent to eliminate a possible blood mage, there is no reasoning with them. And if the Templars are prepared, the mage's magic is all but useless. Driven by their faith, the Templars are one of the most feared and respected forces in Thedas. Yeah, O'Neill. They stick to the lawful side. I don't think they like lawful good people that much. Any hierarchical organization would prefer lawful neutral and and depending on the goals, lawful evil or lawful good. But yeah, any type of top-down structure of command doesn't work very well if you have chaotic assholes disregarding every order. The Drufalo. They said the mages were coming to Redcliffe. We had to leave or be caught in the middle of their war. Guy said that it would be safe in Denerim. We left as soon as we could, but the little ones could barely walk a mile. It was about to turn back when Go saw a herd of wild Drufalo passing through the hills. He said, "How different can they be from horses or Brontos?" "Oh, but those horns!" I was afraid and told Guy not to go, but he said he had no choice. Well, we're going to find out if Drúfalos are dangerous or not. I killed a bunch of them yesterday because I was afraid. Guy said he would catch up to us, that he would continue on. We kissed goodbye and he left. This is going badly, I presume. The children and I kept walking. One day passed, two, then three, and I knew in my heart he was dead. I almost gave up. One morning I was fetching water from the river when I thought how easily it would be. They would just slip away and I would just follow them. What? Ah, drown them. No more pain, no more fear. And as I searched for my courage, I heard crashing through the undergrowth. Bandits, I thought, or a bear, but instead it was a giant beast with pelt of blue-gray and gleaming black horns, and riding its muzzled back was my guy. Huh, what do you know? The Drúfalo was enormous but gentle as a dog. Oops. The children gargled Bluel. Never told him that what almost came to that day. Interesting. Well, now I know I can explore that place without fear. The ram is a marvelous creature. Its wool makes the best linings for winter coats this side of the mountains. The horns and bones can be crushed into powder and mixed with the soil for a healthy crop, or charred on the ground and ground into ink powder. The hide makes a good cover in window against the winds. You can burn the dung in a pinch. What the fuck? Melt down its fat for candles. I haven't even mentioned the meat. With a full-grown ram, you could make a big stew enough for a village and have enough left for over a week. Well, they must eat very little. Or the village is very small. So there will be no more complaining of being paid in sheep from your work during the harvest. With that ram and a few ewes, you can start your own flock. If you're lucky to have them handed to you instead of needing to go and tame a wild one, listen to your father for once. Take care of those animals, and they will take care of you. Nah. The Dalish believe in a balance with nature, but we hunt animals all the time. So I think I am not that in the wrong. Holy shit, I've been reading codexes for almost an hour. But we're almost done. Uh, I don't really care about that, so I won't read. Characters. Josephine. Okay. Montilet is a noble from the nation of Antigua. I was pretty sure she was from Orle. She was educated in Valroyo, that explains it, where she built connections among the court. Once she finished her schooling at a surprising young age, Lady Montlilet became the official diplomat between King Fulengo of Antigua and Empress Celine of Orleans. The appointment suits her. She is well traveled, familiar with many forms of etiquette, and by all accounts a skilled negotiator. So she was the ambassador of Antigua in Orleans. I was mistaken. I thought she was the ambassador of Orle in Antigua. If that endorsement does not suffice, Josephine is a personal friend. I have faith in her. We require someone both influential and trustworthy to be an ambassador for the Inquisition. You cannot tell me you would prefer to take the job yourself. No, Cassandra would not. Liliana. Really, you killed the Dalish elves. We shall see if I encounter Dalish elves. Every elf I encounter, I will try to bring into fold with my plan. So I cannot be as uh, what can you say, deceitful with them. I need to put myself more out there with the elves, more of my true agenda. I mean, Leliana, she has many names, most known as Sister Nightingale. Some refuse to speak her name at all, referring to her only as the left hand of the divine, the shadow behind the Sorbos throne. Spy Master Marjolaine trained Leliana from a young age. For years, she was Marjoraine's instrument in the great game of Orlais. While Leliana was devoted to Marjoraine, the reverse was not true. Marjoraine betrayed Leliana and almost succeeded in killing her. Leliana survived the betrayal, thanks to the revealed mother Dorothea. Following this betrayal, Leliana spent several years in a cloister in Ferelden, hiding from her past. Inspired by the revered mother, Leliana dedicated herself to her faith, discovering peace in a simple life of devotion. But when the fifth blight began, she received what she believed a vision from the Maker. This prompted her to leave the chantry, taking up arms against the Darkspawn. Several years after the defeat of the Archdemon, Leliana received a summons from Dorothea, now Divine Justinia V. She returned to Orlais to become an agent of the Sun Post throne. Justinia perished in the explosion that destroyed the Divine Conclave, and Liliana became a founding member and a spy master of the new Inquisition. And we're almost done. It only took an hour. It's almost like Renaok, which I enjoyed. Now I mostly listen to books. Okay, time to level up Dark.